What's up, my people? I have returned, and I wanted to give a quick update on the happenings since the snafu last week. And if you don't know what I'm talking about and wondering where the heck I was this past weekend, you might watch the video on where the heck did all my videos go. But I wanted to fill you all in on what has transpired since that, where we are today, and where we're going. I'm going to cover a variety of topics in this video, some of which will have downstream impacts on you, the viewer, and how you can make the most of the services that we provide. First off, after working closely with the team at YouTube, all the content that had gone missing has been restored to its original location with all of its original data, which is no small task, to put it lightly. And if you remember back to the previous video, I said that I wanted to push for the correct solution, not necessarily the fast solution. And this was it. This is true for all the content except for one piece. And while I'm not ecstatic about losing a piece of work, I would say that the team at YouTube put in a lot of hours on this thing, and I appreciate their hard work. And if you were to say, hey, Kurt, you got to delete one video, select one, go through your whole list and select one, that one probably would have been in the top 5. That particular piece of content was not exceptionally novel. It was easily replicable. It didn't plug into a whole lot of things. It doesn't have a lot of like this content points at that piece of content. None of those broad-reaching ramifications. So I would say to the people at YouTube, 1 out of 800 and some videos that went missing, that's a 99%. That's still an A. Good job and thank you very much. I did notice that some of the content that you guys have added did not make the transfer. And I don't understand the algorithm, the rhyme or reason why stuff made it and other stuff didn't. But if you had something particularly snarky to say on something, you might go and check to see if it's still there. And if it isn't, please add it back up, because you guys provide me some of the greatest entertainment that money can't buy. Now, on a more serious note, I am left with a warning on the channel, which I'm kind of miffed about. And the reason I'm not happy about it is I just simply don't agree. A warning does not immediately damage your channel. It doesn't restrict your access to any controls. It doesn't change your monetization status. It doesn't do anything in the short term. So I'm not really damaged by this. And as I mentioned, the team at YouTube put in a lot of work to get this where it is. And as far as I can tell, there is no method that exists to remove a warning on a channel. So, for them to go and then create a system to backfix something like this, I appreciate the work that they did for me. And you know what? While it is a stain on my otherwise perfect record here on YouTube after 10 years, whatever. I would much prefer to just go back to work. Regularly scheduled content will resume this weekend. Thank you very much for your patience on that. I'm going to be leading off with a piece of content that I finished while this whole mess was going on, so hopefully it doesn't bleed through too badly into the video, but you'll see it this weekend. There will be some changes, though, that I want to address. We're no longer going to be using external links in the description boxes, except for a few exceptions. And that's solely for the reason that I feel as though a security hole has been revealed. In this instance, we saw a situation where a third party that did not intend any ill harm to me in any way, shape, manner, or form, an oversight occurred, and that resulted in potential loss of thousands of hours of work, but ultimately resulted in just a week's worth of work lost on my part trying to fix the situation. What happens when somebody with real nefarious intent intends to do damage? The way I see it is that websites can be hacked. I think it's unlikely that something like Instagram gets hacked and doesn't have broad-reaching consequences for lots of creators besides just me, that then YouTube would have to work with to fix. But I think it is feasible that my website could get hacked. I think that it is feasible that external third-party websites could be hacked that could cause a problem. So instead of linking out to directly websites that for all intents and purposes would be YouTube approved, we're just going to use a Linktree account. It wouldn't just impact me if Linktree gets hacked, is what I'm saying. Whereas if somebody that I worked with that does coffee or body armor or insert other product here or there, their stuff gets hacked. And then this creates a cascade effect like we saw in this instance. Hopefully YouTube has seen this whole thing and they've used it to improve some processes. I've been told that that's kind of on the menu, but ultimately, this is how I plan to fix this from my end. So the thing about Linktree also is that it's specifically built for this sort of thing, and it also has the capacity to integrate capture of emails for email lists and things like that. So I have an idea for a monthly email where I put out basically a recap of everything that we did in case you missed it in your YouTube notifications, but then also in that email include any of the hot deals that we got going on, that sort of stuff. So I'd be looking out for that. I haven't configured it on Linktree yet, but that's where we're going. And then lastly, I want to address something that I saw very prevalently in the previous video. And people were saying things like, oh, just re-upload your content en masse, or you need to generate another channel at a different platform, you know, that sort of stuff. There's a few things I need you to understand about being a creator from my perspective. So first off, just re-upload your content en masse. That's not really an option. First of all, you have to understand how that's going to look to anybody who's got their notifications on. They're going to get 800 videos. It's going to flood their notifications. They're going to turn off their notifications, and they're not going to turn them back on. So ultimately, that short and long term negatively impacts my channel. Also, the percent of viewership on those videos will be lower than they were the first time around. Because people will be like, oh, I've already seen this. I'm not going to watch it again. That hurts the long-term performance of the channel. So it's just simply not an option. The other thing that I want you to understand from a business perspective is there are things that are more important, or at least equally as important, as having the content consumable by you. Things like the data associated with it, all the tags, all the information that it plugs into in the greater search engine optimization type of thing. It's important that that's there and maintained because it helps boost the overall performance of everything that my business does. So losing that data would have been just as big a hit, if not larger for the long-term scheme of things, than the videos not being viewable. I need you to put that in perspective for a second. It's not just the content. So that leads us into just upload it to you need to get off YouTube. You need to go open a whatever account that I've never heard of, all that. I see what you're saying, right? But nobody directly competes with YouTube. YouTube has the largest audience anywhere on the internet. And because of that, from a Second Amendment advocacy point of view, I have to be here. It's imperative that we have people here doing this sort of thing, and I don't take that lightly. I do see value, having stared down the possibility of having to recover a whole bunch of content, that currently I have my content saved en masse to various hard drives. And it's backed up in various places and things like that on the cloud, but it's not in a finished state. As in, the data that I've associated with it is not included. So a lot of times I do multiple cuts of the content because I have an evolution process. And having the content chronologically ordered with all the associated data would be exceptionally valuable. So I have opened a Bitchute account because it can be configured to automatically back up everything that I do with the stuff on YouTube. And that's the main value to me, that backup. I think there is value to that. Should I have to recover that data at a later date? But as far as trying to generate new viewership somewhere else, the people aren't there. And because the people aren't there, I can't really commit a whole lot of time to it. but that's where we're going to go with that. And of course, those links to that and the other social pages will be available. That's pretty much the end of my update. I thank you all that went over during this whole process and contributed to our Patreon and Subscribestar pages. Those ones, of course, are still open, and you should see some people that are contributing at the various levels on screen right now. Thank you very much, and we'll see you on the next one.